30,000 milliwatts of power. Broadcasting almost across the valley. AM 1620, the Eagle Radio Network.
Good morning and welcome to the Saturday Morning CEO Radio Show. We are glad that you are here. However you're here, you're either watching us on Channel 45, Verizon Fios in Riverside County, or Channels 0 and 126 on Time Warner Cable. I love Channel 0. Who gets 0? We do. Not because we're 0, but because we are on 0. Or if you're in Europe or Africa, some other areas that we know pick us up on satellite radio, welcome, or AM 1620 in Hemet, San Jacinto area. However you're listening to us or on the internet, we are glad that you are here. Hey, we got a great show for you today. We've got our wonderful returning co-host who's been with us several times, Mr. Larry Broughton, who I'll introduce here in a second, and we've got a great local business person, Doug Spoon, who runs the Menifee 24/7 online newspaper. So let's get ready to get this show off the road. I don't think I have any big announcements at all right now. So Larry Broughton, do a quick introduction for those who are brand new today. Larry Broughton is a former, boy, I'm really losing it today there, Larry, is a former Special Forces agent in the military, and he owns several hotels and has a consulting business. He's consulted for little companies like Turner Broadcasting and a little place in Washington called the Pentagon. So he's kind of a big guy on the show here. We're glad to have you. How you doing today, Larry?
I'm doing great, Dennis. How are you?
Hey,
again.
I'm doing wonderful now that I'm talking to you. Thank you.
Well, good morning.
What have you got going on these days? Anything special?
Oh, I am up in sunny Calistoga, up in Napa County this weekend, and having fun. We've got a hotel up here that we just opened a couple of weeks ago, so I'm kind of making my rounds up and down the state. Been really busy. We opened up a hotel in Koreatown in Los Angeles
Great.
a few weeks ago as well, and then one in Hollywood just about 2 months ago. So we've had a very busy summer on the hotel side.
That's great.
So,
how about your consulting business? Your consulting business?
I'll tell you. So we've got this consulting business, Dennis. You know this, that we do kind of strategic consulting for people, helping to define the vision for their company, and people who want to incorporate an entrepreneurial spirit into their organization. And as you'd mentioned, we work with the Pentagon and with Turner Broadcasting, very mature organizations, but they recognize they need to have this kind of entrepreneurial spirit inside the walls there. So we help them with that. It's going really well. We have a big event coming up in February for entrepreneurs called the Entrepreneur Uprising event. So we're staying very busy, and just loving life right now.
Oh, that's great. Well, we've had you on as a guest here too, so some of our listeners may be returning and remember some of the other stuff that you've shared. So just tell people how they can contact you if they're interested in getting involved in that conference coming up.
There's several ways to do it. One way is they can always find me at a website called aboutlarrybroughton.com. Very creative, right? About Larry Broughton. But they could go to eUprising 2014 if they want to learn anything about the event coming up in February. But you can always go to BroughtonAdvisory.com. Broughton Advisory has links to all of this stuff. If somebody wants to sign up for our weekly flashpoints, you've mentioned that you like these flashpoints that I send out every Tuesday, which are just kind of little tidbits of information, keep people inspired, right, and kind of break through the norm as far as the traditional thinking on business and super achievement. But or just Google Larry Broughton. I'm out there.
You're way out there. You're like me too. You put my name in there, and I'm on the first 3 pages of Google or something. So
yeah.
I always check and make sure nothing bad's going on.
Well, when you got names like you and I have, it's better than Bill Smith.
It is. It is. Yeah, exactly. Well, let me go ahead and introduce our guest today. I'm actually very glad to have with us today in the studio, Mr. Doug Spoon, and Doug is the owner and editor of the Menifee 24/7, which is the online newspaper in my hometown. He purchased it, I think a little over a year ago, or
not quite a year ago.
Not quite a year. So he's been a reporter for many, many years. He's covered sports and other stuff. He teaches journalism. He's a smart guy. And actually, I'm going to tell a little story about him, or about the Menifee 24/7. It is actually where I saw an article about the studio here that I shoot the show from here. So his business is actually directly related to us having a show and sharing all this great stuff with you. So I'm excited to have him here with us today. So how are you doing today, Doug?
I'm doing wonderful. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself so that they can get used to. Get used to. He's going to come move in and sleep on your couch. He's going to be on your radio for right now or on your TV. So tell a little bit about your background so they can know who you are.
Okay, well, I've spent about 35 years in journalism, primarily, as you said, as a sports writer and later sports editor for the San Gabriel Valley Tribune and the Pasadena Star News. And covered all kinds of things from the Olympics in 1984 to World Series, Super Bowls, had all that fun stuff going on. Got to travel around the country and do some wonderful things back in the days of traditional print newspapers, where you only had to worry about filing a story one time a day. You had one deadline. It's much different now, and I've kind of adapted to that over the years and started teaching journalism about 10 years ago at Cal Poly Pomona. And so we're all about educating our students in the changing world of journalism and how they can adapt to more of the multimedia world that we have today.
That's great. And let me just clarify for some of our younger listeners, that's like these really big pieces of paper that had lots of words printed on them that people would actually go and read instead of going on their computer, because we didn't used to have computers. We invented them. So the news and the media play a big role in a lot of our lives, but especially in in working with business. Businesses have advertised for years. There's been articles written about businesses that sometimes turn them into a great success, or it can be there was recently I don't know why I want to go to this story first, but we had a little Chinese food donut shop recently that had the FBI or somebody SWAT team or somebody show up, and that wasn't really good press for them. I think they're closed.
To this day, we still get comments from people wanting to know whatever happened to those people, and can't they reopen that shop? I love that place.
So good press or bad press can make or break you. So the press has played a big part in our lives for many, many years. So tell us a little bit about the idea of just almost a year ago now you purchased the business, and tell us why don't you explain the difference maybe between print advertising and online, not advertising but news media, the newspaper versus online paper. What are some of the differences there?
Well, the main difference is just the immediacy and the real-time coverage that you are allowed to have with the online coverage. The print newspaper, you basically have till about 11 o'clock at night to wrap up everything that's happened during the day, and then if something happens at 1 a.m., you've missed it. You have to wait another whole 24 hours to get that in the news. So
Right.
this is wonderful because whenever something happens, you can immediately get it up on your website. We have a Facebook page where we can post breaking news, and it's very interactive. Back in the old days, if a reader wanted to publicly react to something that you were doing, they would have to mail you a letter to the editor, and you would print it for everyone to see. Now you get comments left and right within 30 seconds of somebody responding to your story, and it really engages the public and stimulates discussion and makes it a lot of fun.
It's a huge thing that's happened here. I like to compare what's happening to print media with what happened to the horse-drawn carriages. I mean, it's a huge industry. That the blacksmiths were the ones that they had it made. They're all shoeing the horses all the time, and now you hardly see any anywhere because cars came along.
Right.
I think this is the same dynamic.
Yeah, it is, and there are still a lot of traditionalists out there that refuse to embrace the whole online. I mean, it's usually the older generation that they like their morning newspaper and they want to spread it out and cut out their articles, and they just like things the way they were. But we're actually gaining a lot of readership from people of all ages that realize it's kind of nice to, wherever you are, if you have your phone or laptop, or you can plug in immediately to us and find out what's going on.
Gotcha. Larry, what's your experience with either media or any other industry that's had to make a huge change like this?
Well, I think in the media side, I think it's really interesting. You're talking about, Dennis, that the media can either make or break you, and I think you're right on, which I think is so important. Why we need to make sure that we have a great character, right? You'd mentioned earlier you get on Google to make sure that no one says anything bad about you,
Right.
right? And so I think it's a good reminder that we need to maintain good character. But Doug, I'd like to ask you this. A lot of us that are in entrepreneurship or we're running businesses, we go into this with the mindset, I need the biggest audience possible. I want to, if I'm going to launch my business, I want to appeal to the most people. And it seems like a lot of these organizations like yours, it's kind of a different take on that you're really kind of looking at micro locations. So how do you do that? How do you make sure that you're thriving in, very frankly, which is a niche?
Yeah, it really is, and I think that's a big part of the key to success of this kind of media is the hyper local aspect of it, and you have to start small and build your audience. We had a good audience here that was built on Menifee 24/7 from Steve Johnson, the previous owner, who had quite a following for about 10 years, but it took a while to build that up. And I think a good key to this is to find your niche, start to build an audience, and then link to other forms of media. I would advise, if somebody wanted to try to do something like this, to offer their services to an existing local website, and even if you have to do it for free in the beginning, to just get on there as a correspondent, offer your services, and then you start putting links in there to your own little blog and the things that you can do, and then the you kind of steal their audience or bring it over to your platform, and then it just kind of builds from there.
Yeah, it's good. Go ahead, Larry.
No, I was going to say that's interesting. It's an interesting approach. I think that all businesses can learn from that. So tell me about writing style. It seems like, boy, if you've been doing this for 35 years, you've got friends who were kind of in the business 35 years ago, and they were growing up, their aspiration was to start out as this cub reporter at some big newspaper and write these, investigative articles. Are people spending time online reading these long articles, and is this the style of writing changed, or is it just, I don't know. Is it same, different? What?
I would say it has changed somewhat to more of the quick hit, in some cases less formal style of writing. And of course, there are limits to that. I tell my journalism students, please don't let too much of the text language creep into your formal writing with all of the LOLs and abbreviations and everything. But I have adapted a little bit to writing a little more briefly and a little less formal to appeal to people that are in a hurry, and maybe they're sitting in the waiting room of the dentist's office and they've got 5 minutes to kill, and they go on the phone and they're just kind of scanning around to see what's going on. They're not going to sit there and read a 1,000-word investigative piece.
Well, that's what used to happen. I mean, that was the morning coffee with the paper is not the tradition anymore. It's rushing out and getting going and grabbing some news along the way.
Exactly. Reader habits have changed quite a bit, and so we've had to adapt to that. And for instance, I covered a high school football game, Heritage High football last night, and in the old days, I would be there taking my notes with the mindset that, okay, I've got until 11 o'clock tonight to gather all my information, and I've got one shot to write my 700-word story or whatever. Instead, I'm constantly posting score updates throughout the game, almost like I'm kind of broadcasting as we go along. Then at the end of the night, I have to figure out, okay, how can I wrap things up to supplement what I've already reported?
Right, and you really are broadcasting.
Yeah, it really is, in a sense. In fact, even sometimes I will take my my video camera out there, and you have to be a jack of all trades. I tell my students now, there's so many opportunities in this multimedia world to use still photography, videos, podcasts, all these different things. Instead of me going out there just with my notepad and having a separate photographer, a separate person shooting video, it may be me by myself doing whatever I have to maximize the coverage.
Right, definitely.
Isn't it interesting? Even CNN, I've got a friend who works at CNN, and she travels overseas. She is her own camera person nowadays.
Yes.
Wow, yeah.
While she hooks into her satellite phone, her little camera into her satellite phone, and sends the feedback to wherever, and you see it sitting in Southern California. So the whole jack of all trades thing, I think, really transcends not just the business you're doing, but all businesses. Don't you think, Dennis? That crying out loud, if you don't have your finger on the pulse of your business, of everything that you're doing, look at you crying out loud.
Yeah.
Acting as engineer and broadcasting.
That's right. Shh, don't tell anybody.
but isn't the truth though that if we get it in our head that we have to be a jack of all trades?
Yeah.
It takes some of the pressure off on the front end.
Very.
We're to set our business model up a little bit differently. I would imagine. Doug,
We're gonna run, Larry. Speaking of jack of all trades, I've got to get us to a break here real quick. When we come back, we'll talk about what niche marketing does for all businesses, why it's important.
You must be your fairy godmother.
Cinderella's dream comes true because the glass slipper fits.
It fits.
In our world, the right fit can be just as important, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose a car seat that's the right fit for your child's age and size to make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely every time.
Hop in, dear. Thank you.
For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. This message has been brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second?
I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
Well, you still ride your skateboard to work, there's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control over my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Good morning, guten tag, buenos dias, and whatever other language you're listening in. Oh, wait, we're only in English. Anyway, welcome back to the Saturday morning. Oh, thank you. Welcome back to the Saturday Morning CEO Radio Show. We're back with our guest, Doug Spoon of Menifee 24/7, and our co-host, Larry Broughton. So when we left, if you heard in the last microsecond or so, I mentioned that when we come back, we would talk a little bit about the importance of working a niche market, which Larry had brought up with Doug, and we want to kind of expand, I think, on that a little bit. I think it's important. So, yeah. What do you notice? In fact, I'm going to ask Larry first. Larry, you've just mentioned that you had hotels in different areas. Do they all look exactly the same, or what do you what do you do there? You have all the same employees running back and forth?
Yeah, they're all clones. No, hey, listen, there are a lot of, in the hotel industry, there are a lot of hotels that they make their business model on that, right? I mean, crying out loud, most of the branded hotels, if you're staying in one in Boise, you could wake up and feel like you're in Baton Rouge, right? You have no idea.
Right.
What studies have shown, though, over the years is that there is very little loyalty to those types of businesses because there's not a real affinity. They don't capture the hearts and minds of the guests that are staying there. Guests don't feel like it's a reflection of who they are when they're staying there. And so we take a different approach. What we try to do is really celebrate the location where these hotels sit, and we don't go after the masses. We niche it way down. In fact, what we try to do, guys, is say, what magazine would our guest actually read? That really takes it down to a niche, right? So if we've got a reader that, for instance, I would say that the hotel on Sunset, right across from the Guitar Center in Hollywood, would probably read Rolling Stone magazine.
Right.
That's not going to be the same guest who's going to go stay at the Georgian, which is much more sophisticated.
Gotcha.
Out there in Santa Monica. So we've really niched it down. And I would imagine that this kind of approach works really well in Doug's arena as well, where you actually celebrate the location of where you are instead of trying to appeal to the entire globe. Is that accurate, Doug? By the way, yeah. Doug Spoon, there's another name that you could Google right there, and I bet you probably don't get stuck with the Bill Smiths of the world either, right? Doug Spoon?
That's true. But, most of my life, I grew up thinking that there could not be another person named Doug Spoon on this planet. And
no, there is.
There actually are. I am Facebook friends with 3 other Doug Spoons.
Wow.
And it's amazing what the internet allows you to do. They actually are out there.
So I got to throw a pun in here then. So if you Google Doug Spoon, you may hit a fork in the road.
Oh, there we go. Like I haven't heard those before.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sure you have not. No, very, very true.
Yeah.
So let's coin the phrase right here on the Saturday Morning CEO Radio Show then about talking about celebrating the location. We're going to call it Location Celebration. And
okay.
You like that? Thank you. Location Celebration. And so what do you notice about Menifee is your area that you're covering and the little surrounding area around it. What do you notice about Menifee itself as a city? Does it have a theme or a look or a feel? And what do you do? You mentioned it a little bit before with your writing style, but what things do you do to mesh with that?
Well, I've been out in Menifee for about 2 years now, and the first thing that I noticed about it was this interesting mix that there is of the old style, the old traditional Menifee, which originally was discovered as a mining town, farming, ranching. There's still a lot of the pioneer families that live there. You've got that mixed with all of these housing developments that have come in the last 10, 20 years. So you have a lot of young families that have come out here for affordable housing, and you may have walk out the door of your 3,000 square foot home that's only 5 years old and walk a block down the street and you got a cow pasture or horses, and that's the interesting appeal to it. So we've really tried to capture that rural feel, but at the same time the energy of all of these young families that have come out there. And I made no bones about it when I first came out that I'm a wannabe cowboy. And my original mugshot was wearing a cowboy hat, and I would write columns before I took the site over from Steve Johnson. I would write columns about, yeah, I've gone down the road here and I've seen all these horses, and look at these old Indian artifacts and that kind of thing. And at the same time, then I will write something about the Walmart that's coming in, or the new developments. So what we have done is we've tried to embrace the historical aspects, and I'll go out and I'll take pictures of the farmhouse that's still left from 100 years ago. But at the same time, we'll have a column written by, we have a young lady that writes a column, Menifee Mom, and it's basically soccer mom kind of, how do you handle kids and all that kind of thing. And we've got a young man that writes Menifee Plugged In, which kind of appeals to the video gaming and the music that the younger people are in. So we try to include all these varied aspects that we've got in our community out here.
Well, I'll back that up too, because I've got 5 acres in a little area with some custom homes, but yet my kids can walk to Jack in the Box and the grocery store from where we're at. So it is a really good mix. A lot of growth going on. The new center on Hahn Road there. What's the name of that center? I always forget the name of that.
Countryside Marketplace.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And it has these huge. It's set up like a more rural, rustic feel, even though it's brand new buildings. And I love these. Some of their plants are in these huge pots that are bigger than me. So they look like a little pot, but they're huge. So it kind of celebrates the whole idea, I think, of the history of the area too.
It really does. And even the Menifee, you probably can't see it on my shirt here, but this little logo that we have
here, we'll zoom in on.
Okay,
here.
That is actually patterned after the windmill that is on Countryside Marketplace, and again embraces this whole theme of the legacy, the rural legacy, the farming industry and all that. And if you look at Countryside Marketplace, the architecture of it is very much tailored to that. That this sets us apart from other places. Yes, we've got our Target and our Lowe's and all of these things in the center, but we are Menifee's Target and Menifee's Lowe's, and so we've tried to illustrate that in what we do on our website as well.
So what does a business do to find out? Let's say you're going to open a business in a new area that maybe you haven't lived in, and Larry, feel free to jump in to answer this too. But if one of our viewers or listeners right now is thinking, I want to start a business, I'm not sure exactly what kind, I kind of have an idea of the area. What do you do to find out what the feel is for that community? How do you get a feel for the community? Whether it's a fast pace, slow pace, how do you get that information?
I think you have to get out there and get involved. Go to community events.
Okay.
Go to a city council meeting. Go to a Chamber of Commerce mixer. Go to the Little League games. Just get out to as many different public events as you can and talk to people and kind of get a feel for what their interests are. Why did they move here? I've met so many people that have moved out from San Gabriel Valley, where I'm from. Why did you come out here? We came out here because my son-in-law is stationed at March Air Force Base. Other people came out here because I can't afford to live in San Gabriel Valley anymore. It's interesting to find out people's stories and what they're interested in, where they like to shop, if they have kids playing youth sports, and that's how I learned about what's going on in the community.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Bob Beal is famous for saying, if you want profound answers, you need to ask profound questions. So I think you do exactly what you're talking about, Doug, is you go out and you ask tons of questions. But on a more global question that you had, Dennis, about starting businesses or looking for a gap in the marketplace and trying to fill it, is what do you love to do? What's your experience? You know, I love the veterinary field. You know, I love animals, but I couldn't go start a veterinarian practice because I don't have the training. I don't have the expertise in it.
Right.
So I think it's really interesting that Doug took 35 years of his experience and is now a business owner in it. So by the way, Doug, is this your first soiree into business ownership?
Yes, it definitely is.
So any surprises along the way? In the last less than a year, what have you learned that our listeners and viewers can take from the first year of business ownership?
Well, I think I've learned that you have to be ready for anything, that you have to be able to work with all kinds of different people. You have to establish a team. You know, you can't do it by yourself. I have a business partner, Shelley Stovall, who is we're equal partners in this business, and she handles the business end of it, the ad sales and marketing and those kind of things. Both of our spouses are also partners in the business with it. So her husband, David, will work on a lot of the graphic elements. He's even out there taking photos at the high school football games. My wife, Kristen, works with a lot of the marketing, ad sales. She will go out and cover events if I'm not in town and a fire breaks out or something. So we've had to learn how to, on a small scale, identify each person's strengths and how we can work together. And one of the biggest challenges for me was just to give up control of certain aspects. I tend to want to do everything myself, and it's just impossible. Even at a small scale, community website like we have, I have to be able to trust that the people I'm asking to help me can do the job. And maybe they don't do it exactly the way I would, but I have to delegate and let people help me, basically.
You mentioned earlier, too, about the interactions, you know, how in the old days it used to be that they used to have to send a letter to the editor and you get a response. Well, you get it right away now. So how is that communication changed, and how does that direct your business? Are you able to have some kind of control on that, or how does that work?
It's interesting because we actually get some of our story ideas from our readers. They can post on our Facebook page. They don't even have to be just reacting to a story that we've written on there. They can basically start their own thread of, hey, I know this is what's going on. And so it's what we call citizen journalism, which you have to control and not let the average reader take over news coverage on your site. But they are very helpful in not only giving us their opinion, but letting us know what's going on around town. Now, the flip side of that is you have to be careful because you're now opening the door to anyone who wants to make a comment on your site, which may include profanity or personal attacks on someone else. So we actually have an employee whose full-time job is to sit there and monitor Facebook comments and delete things if necessary. You know, we had a big crime story here during the summer where a little boy was killed and actually found buried in his backyard. That just exploded with people making comments and accusations. And if I had been handling everything myself, I would have been spending 24 hours a day just reading through Facebook comments.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, and when we come back from break here in a little bit too, I want to talk some more about that story and how it affected your business. So, but let's talk a little bit about blogging and the importance of a business being involved with its community in an online fashion. There's Yelp and there's other things out there that some businesses don't even know that people are talking about them.
Right. It's so important, I think, for a business to use tools like that to get the word out. The days of just traditional advertising where you make up a little display ad and put it on a newspaper and wait for people to find out about you are gone, really. If you're not taking advantage of the tools that the guy down the street is, then you're at a disadvantage. And you can use a blog to just promote one little aspect, or if you're a restaurant and maybe you've introduced a new item on your menu and you want to write 3 paragraphs on your blog with a picture of this great new meal that you have, it's a better way than trying to just go out on the street corner with a sign or whatever,
right?
And let people know what services you have, and then people can respond and ask questions about it or give their review. I went in there and had that meal and it was great, that kind of thing.
Well, when we come back from break here, I want to talk about contingency plans, and you mentioned how a big story hits and it can kind of change things. And Larry, having been in the military, everything doesn't always go as planned, so you have to have contingency plans. So when we come back from break, we'll talk about that. And remember to please visit us online at smradio.org. You can find out what all our archive shows are and watch some of those on there. Or you can watch streaming live right now at smradio.org/YouTube. We'll be back right after this.
For the California Dental Association, Christy Yamaguchi.
As an Olympian and daughter of a dentist, I know the importance of having healthy teeth and a bright, healthy smile. Tooth decay is the #1 childhood disease, more than asthma and obesity. That's why a new state law requires that kindergartners receive a dental checkup. So parents, prepare your children for school. Take your child to see a dentist. It'll make you smile too.
For more information, call 800-CDA-SMILE.
Do you suffer from the heartbreak of brain rot, feeling bored, sluggish, listless, not had a new idea in days? Using electronic gizmos without a clue why they work? Now there's help. Ham radio, guaranteed to stimulate your corroding neurons and open a whole new world of excitement. To learn more about ham radio, go to helloradio.org.
Side effects of ham radio usage include mental stimulation, desire for education, new career paths, understanding of technology, and cases of addiction have been reported. If you experience any of these symptoms, you're welcome.
Ham radio. It's not your granddaddy's radio anymore.
They were outnumbered, out-equipped. They had no chance of winning, but they had one huge advantage: General George Washington.
The fate of unborn millions will now depend, under God, on the courage and conduct of this army. We have to resolve to conquer or die.
Just as the leadership of one man helped form a nation, today leadership can transform the world. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
It's like FM without the commercials. It's like XM without the quality. It's AM 1620, the Eagle Radio Network.
Welcome back to some kind of radio show on Saturday morning. I forget what we're called. I don't know. Anyway, with Larry, Doug, and Dennis. That's almost like Larry, Moe, and Curly. Anyway, we are back, having a little bit of fun and talking about some serious stuff at the same time. For entrepreneurs and business owners, we've got Doug Spoon is the owner and editor of the Menifee 24/7 online paper. And Larry Broughton is our co-host today, who is an entrepreneur, owns several hotels, and does all kinds of consulting. So welcome. If you're just joining us, we're glad to have you either watching us or listening to us. So when we left, we talked about coming back and discussing contingency plans. So Larry and I know a lot about this because he's been a co-host on our show quite often. He's been lucky to be here when we've had a lot of technical difficulties. So we've had... He's had to call in and send smoke signals once, and I had to read it. And so let's talk about well, Larry, why don't you start us off by talking about the importance of having contingency plans, and then we'll talk to we'll ask Doug, because he's had some big things hit that on his newspaper that he's had to update, and kind of be ready for. So.
Yeah, sure. Well, it seems to me that a lot of reasons that entrepreneurs and business owners struggle in those first couple of years is that they don't anticipate the problems that they're going to be facing. They think that just because they've developed a business plan, that everything's going to be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. And I think that we've learned that that is not the case. I would imagine, Doug, that you've had that experience too. But in the military, we say that no plan survives contact with the enemy. You've got a great plan, but then all of a sudden, as soon as rounds start coming at you, things kind of get a little bit messy. And so in the military, we have these contingency plans. They're basically if-then scenarios. If this happens, we're going to respond this way. And so a lot of veteran business owners who are veterans, have taken that same concept and applied it to their business. And I think that's what has allowed them to respond more quickly to the challenges that come about. So I think it's really important to have contingency plans, and if you just get it in your head that the best laid plans don't always come to fruition, anticipate you're going to have problems. I think you'll be able to respond in a way that doesn't just put your business right off the cliff.
Right. And I think also not only do problems arise, but sometimes an opportunity, if not properly taken, can be a problem too.
Oh, absolutely.
So what do you do to be prepared for fluctuations and changes in your business?
Well, I always have a plan for every day. In the media, you always have a plan for if it's a slow news day. So if there's not a lot of breaking news, you've got to fill airtime, or you have to fill space with something. So we're always working on some feature articles and different things that we can have. That is our backup plan. The anticipation is that something will happen during the day that you'll end up going out to cover, and there's regularly scheduled things, city council meetings and club events and sports activities and that kind of thing. But you have to always be ready, be flexible at a moment's notice for something that requires you to run out in the field. I've always got my phone charged up and my laptop with me and ready to run out, and then the feature that you've had sitting there goes on the back burner, and all of a sudden you're in the field reporter.
Right. That it's funny as you bring up you got your phone charged up and laptop charged up. Those little things are things that could easily go forgotten and be disastrous.
Oh yeah, I've been in situations like that where you want to take photos on your cell phone camera to immediately post on Facebook, and then you realize you've got 5% left on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to do?
Right. No, that is a big deal. So tell us how you mentioned the story that popped up in Menifee recently. How did that affect your business? I mean, was it did it affect it in a positive way, in a negative way? What did you have to do to adapt to this huge story that came up?
It's one of those unfortunate aspects of the media where a tragic event can be beneficial in some way for your business. People want to read about crime and what's happening in their area, and this is what happened to us. There was a little boy named Terry Smith that lived out in the rural section of Menifee who went missing, and so we immediately started reporting on it, and it became like a community-wide search for this little boy for like 3 days, and it attracted statewide attention. All the TV crews were out there, and it really was very high visibility story. And so because of that, a lot of people, I think, were Googling Menifee, trying to find out what can we find out, where is Menifee and what's going on in Menifee 24/7 would pop up, and they realized that we were giving more constant updates on what was happening with the story than anywhere else. So our page views more than quadrupled during those couple of months that people were following what was happening with that, and as it proceeded into the court case, and it just for me, I went from sitting in the office working on my few stories that I had planned to basically being a 24-hour a day on-call reporter and posting updates every 5-10 minutes as they were searching for this boy.
Right. And even though it was a negative event, the community really came together. They had search parties formed, and
yes.
The city was there with tables set up with information, and everybody was assigned. I mean, it was a well-organized program, and you guys were a big part of getting information about to people like myself. I was working quite a bit, but I stayed up to date with it also. I know my boys went and helped, and it was nice to be able to kind of stay abreast of what was going on, even though I couldn't go myself and participate.
Right. Things were happening quickly every day, and they would plan different search party events, or they would have a vigil, and they would want to get the word out. They would decide at 10 o'clock in the morning, tonight at 7 o'clock, we'd like the community to gather here in front of Menifee Market and have a prayer vigil. Well, how is a print newspaper going to get the word to people in time? So we immediately post things out there, and then people will ask questions. Well, I don't have the address of Menifee Market. Where is it? We can respond. So it really helped to get the word out and to bring the community together. And I think it educated a lot of people on the opportunities that a local online news source can provide for them.
I think is really interesting in that, as I'm hearing you guys talk about this, it seems to me the word that comes to mind is serve.
Yeah.
Yes, you are in business. Yes, you are trying to make money. This is not a nonprofit venture for you. But what you found is you are running your business, but you're serving your constituents at the same time. And darn it, if every business owner would get that in their head, that my job is to serve my clients, I think that we'd have a different level of success with some of our businesses. Do you feel like that's important? Is that part of your psyche, Doug, or is that just kind of a natural byproduct of the business that you're in?
Oh, I guess it's part of my psyche, but I think it's something that I've learned out here is that you need to serve your community, and too many consumers these days, I think, are just disillusioned, and they just think that they're being taken advantage of by businesses, and that business owners don't really care about them and their particular needs. And we've tried to reach out to people and let them know we are interested. What kind of news do you want to read about and see on our website? We will listen to you. We'll try to incorporate what you're looking for. And just the fact that they feel like they have a voice seems to really be satisfying to them, that they're not up against some corporate giant where they're told, well, send an email to this address and you may never hear again. They know we're out there and that we're listening.
Yeah.
Well, this having a voice, I think, is so important too, and I think it kind of ties into what we were speaking of earlier, and that is about your online reputation, and that it seems to me that everyone wants to have some kind of connection with their brand, which is why they write reviews, right? Isn't that why they go online and will write a review about that dinner that you were talking about earlier, or they're going to actually give some kind of feedback instantaneously on an article that you write? It's just so important, I think, that people have, that we're aware that people want to have an emotional connection with you as the Menifee 24/7 and any business, frankly.
Yes, I think people really, they seem to enjoy the fact that I can be just a regular person, and I'm not just an editor of a newspaper that doesn't really care about them. Because in some of my comments, I'll talk to them just like their neighbor or their friend would. And so I think they really appreciate that. Yes, this is a business owner, but he's just another guy who cares about our community like everybody else.
Yeah, I wanted to bring something up that we talked about before. It was some of the little games that you do, and in trying to connect with your audience. You have I've been caught into your trap too, into your web with this. You'll take a picture from an area of Menifee and then cover it up with boxes and uncover one box at a time. And I think you have a sponsor that'll give away a free dinner or something if you guess it. I have to admit, I'm a busy guy, but there was a time one night when I was on Google Earth trying to look at what what things looked like from a street view where you might have taken a picture, and I finally said, Dennis, what the heck are you doing? Look what Doug's done to you. But how do you think that outside the box stuff is affecting your business, and how important is it?
Oh, I think it's hugely important. I had never claimed to be a marketing whiz, but as I got into this, I realized we've got this great opportunity to interact with people and to put something out there and have them respond. What could we do besides just getting their comments to news stories? So I started thinking maybe outside the box for a traditional journalist and considering what kind of gimmicks or contests or things could we do that would make people want to come back every day to Menifee 24/7 and see what do they have for me to think about this time. So we started some of these little contests. We had one where there's a vacant Albertsons building in town, and there was a big debate over what should go in there.
Yeah.
Bowling alley, movie theater, or whatever. So we just had a contest. Send in your idea, and we'll pick one, and that person gets a Visa gift card. The Menifee Maze, I call it, which people get on my case saying it's not a maze, it's a puzzle. But I like the name Menifee Maze, so that's what I call it, darn it. And yeah, they're so...
It's amazing.
Yes, there you go. And we'll go out. In fact, I've gotten to the point now where, because my car says on the back of it Menifee 24/7, so I've had to take another unmarked vehicle and go around town and try to surreptitiously take photos so people can't realize, oh, that's going to be the next Menifee Maze.
That's great.
But people love that thing. They love to be entertained. So it's been an adjustment for me that I'm not just a journalist informing. I'm also engaging the community and playing games and doing some of these fun things. And it's also involving our advertisers. We have sponsors, so when somebody wins, we take them out to the business and stand them in front of the business with the business owner handing them their gift card or whatever the case may be.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Hey, Larry, do you have any final questions for Doug? We're kind of winding down here on the show. We're just getting started, really, but our time's going to run out.
Well, I think what I'd like to find out is, did you have any fears when you decided, well, listen, you've been doing this for 35 years, so I'm guessing you're at least 37 years old, Doug.
A little bit older than that.
That you're starting your first business at, let's say, 37 plus years. Did you have any fears about that?
I did, but the fact that I had another job that I was working that had guaranteed income made me feel a little more comfortable. I think if I had just thrown everything aside and put everything into just this business, I would have been scared to death. So having it as kind of a second business to a job that I already had teaching made it easier for me to feel like I could take some risks, and if something didn't work out, I wasn't going to go bankrupt the next day.
Right. Good.
That was a big help for me.
That's a big plus. I appreciate you asking that, Larry. That's we don't always have a brand new entrepreneur, business owner on the show. So I think those are good questions to find out. What was your feel when you were getting it started? So, well, as we kind of get rolling here, I want to ask you to please share with our audience some of the importance of becoming involved as a business, either advertising or trying to get stories maybe written about your business by a local agency like yourself online. And then also you can lead into how people can get to your website, how they can contact you, give out whatever, contact information you want or credit card numbers or anything like that.
Okay, sure. Well, yeah, we just feel that it's so important for a community to feel connected, and for people who live out in this area and maybe drive into LA or Orange County to work and only come home in the evenings to their nice new home to feel like they really do have a home there, and that there are things going on, and that there are businesses right there in their community that will cater to them. The secret for us is to get those businesses invested with us and involved with us through some of these things that we do, these contests, and being able to support the kinds of local coverage that we do. We're always looking for more involvement with not only community groups, nonprofit organizations, but local businesses that care about what's going on in our community.
So you have somebody that sponsors your maze, is that right?
Yes.
Who sponsors that, and how did that involvement come about?
Texas Roadhouse is the sponsor for that, and we had talked to them about doing some advertising, and they were asking what kinds of opportunities do we have? Is there anything we can do other than just have our little display ad that shows on the homepage all the time? Is there anything that gets our name out there more? So then I said, well, we have this contest, Menifee Maze, that I've been bankrolling, and I would love to have a sponsor that would present the prize for this. And in doing that, you get your name recognition out there every day, because once a day we add another square to the maze, and we don't just say, here's the sixth piece to the Menifee Maze. We say, this is the sixth piece of the Menifee Maze, sponsored by Texas Roadhouse.
Right.
Send in your
good coverage.
Send in your guess, and if you win dinner for two at Texas Roadhouse. And then what we do is invite the winner to come over to the restaurant and take them in to meet Andy Armadillo, which is their big mascot. And we take a picture with the person standing with one of the servers and Andy Armadillo, and they're holding up their little dinner for two certificate.
Oh, that's good. Now, you know what we've not mentioned, which we should have it every 10 seconds, is your website. So Menifee 24/7.
Yes, so it's www.menifee247.com. And then also on Facebook, if you just search for Menifee 24/7, our Facebook page is on there, which basically has a link to all the content that's on the website, plus additional information, traffic updates, scores from football games, all kinds of things. So, yes, Menifee247.com is how you can reach us.
Excellent. So please go by and visit there, and that's a big part of the community here in Menifee area. And so how oh gosh, what was I hate when that happens. My my train just fell off the track, but I had a question to ask you. I remember. What is your golden nugget of information for someone who's getting ready to start a new business? What do you think the most important thing is that they should think about when they're choosing what they want to do?
I think you have to be passionate about what you want to do. If it's going to be a chore for you, I think that's going to show in the quality of your business and in your commitment. And you have to have an element of fun in it, and you have to be committed and patient enough to let it develop. As I was saying, in my line of business, you may have to just offer your services to an existing website and cover things for them, and then link to your product that you're building and kind of build off that.
Okay, yeah, very good. You've got to have, and we've heard that from so many people too. You've got to have a passion for what you're doing.
Yes.
And as we get ready to say bye-bye until next Saturday, Larry, thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate having you here as a co-host. You're well experienced with all types of technical difficulty levels, and today went smooth. That's kind of scary. We still have 45 seconds it could mess up, but I think we're going to be okay.
Good.
And Doug,
thanks for having me, Dennis.
Oh, you're welcome. And Doug, thanks for being on the air with us today, too.
Thank you.
Remember, next Saturday, feel free to join us again on AM 1620 or on the radio or satellite radio in Europe. You can join us. You can join us on TuneInRadio.com. You can join us on Verizon Fios Channel 45 or Channel 0 and 126 on Time Warner Cable. So come back and join us. And if you want to stay tuned on the, if you're watching us on the cable, stay tuned about a half an hour. And Sandra D. Robinson and I have a nice chat with actor Connor O'Farrell today.